But Jesse, I can get a higher rate of return with... Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents channel. My name is Jesse Durham. For today's installation in our book review series of Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash, this is going to be our 20th installation. We're still in part 5 of the book. This is the chapter on page 69 and 70. But I can get a higher rate of return. Now, I know that it's natural to think this at some point. We begin to compare what it is that we're learning from the infinite banking concept to things that we either have already done or that we've heard about, etc. Just traditional investments. Typically, we begin thinking about investments. So it's a natural thing to think. Also, though, I'm going to encourage us to remember a principle from R. Nelson Nash, which is rethink your thinking. Okay, so that principle of rethinking your thinking comes directly from the book, and it's so appropriate right here. So very appropriate. We don't need to misclassify anything. We need to look at things for what they are. And again, this also makes me think of the quote from Will Rogers, where he says, the problem in America isn't so much what people don't know, but it's what they think they know that just ain't so. So let's jump in on this. Investing and financing are not the same things. Investing and financing is not the same. So with investments, financing is taking place. That's an important thing to notice. Everything is financed. Remember that? Everything's financed. Either we're paying someone else interest or we're forfeiting the opportunity to earn interest, to include on investments. And yet, everything that we've been learning about in this book review series, and here I would encourage you, if this is your first episode, we've done 20 now, installations, and we're closing in on the end of the book of this Becoming Your Own Banker book review. But everything that we've been learning so far has not been about investments whatsoever. It's about who controls the banking function and profits from it in your life. So investments are financed. You could be the banker in that investing scenario if you're wanting to talk about investments. But let's demonstrate a couple of examples right here. In one scenario, let's talk about an investment where someone is not the banker. And then let's talk about an investment where someone is the banker. And actually, that's the first thing that you're going to see where Nash is demonstrating the power of the infinite banking concept on page 69, where he's giving you these different examples of, well, suppose you invest $100,000 for 1 year and you earn 20% in this scenario A and in this scenario B, etc. And he's pointing out the differences that happen in those scenarios. Again, not that the investment is any different. The investment is going to do what the investment is going to do. All right, there's an element of risk in investments, and then other concepts are introduced like taxes, etc. But banking is always overlooked until you're exposed to this idea of becoming your own banker. And then you realize that, well, you could profit from and control the banking function in an investing scenario. So then you'll have the results that you do from the investment. Plus you'll have the results, the control, the profitability from being the banker in that investment scenario. So that's the distinction that I want to make. Again, I'll just encourage you to read those examples, and it's great to revisit this stuff. I get so much value in returning to the Becoming Your Own Banker book after having implemented this concept for going on a decade now. I still get in the book and I notice new things and I realize new things, and I can always level up how we're implementing infinite banking even in our personal lives. Now, I will say this, that by learning about the banking function, just learning that it exists, and it does, banking just is, I do think that it very often causes folks to look at investing differently. Some folks see the profitability and the control that there is just in financing a lifestyle outside of investing, right? Just in financing appliances vacations, tuitions, medications, business equipment. We've already covered. So lots of different things that are just in whatever our lifestyle is. Now that can include investments. Again, that can include investments. But I think plenty of folks are exposed to infinite banking, and it makes them feel differently and understand differently about investing. Maybe it changes their risk tolerance because they realize that they could be growing and compounding capital for the rest of their life uninterrupted while still maintaining access to liquid capital via the policy loans for just whatever their lifestyle is. And maybe they're just going to be great bankers. Some people still want to do both because they are interested in real estate, or they are interested in the marketplace, or whatever it is that they're interested in, and they just get to add all the benefits of being the banker in those scenarios, just like we're seeing here on page 69. But you can use the policies to fund the things that give ROR. If you're into X, Y, or Z investments, you can be the banker even in those conventional routes of putting money to work or investing money. Also, folks that have a business can invest that business without having to tap into or risk dollars with government qualified plans, for example, to try and offset what it is that they're doing in business. Because lots of folks, they might even just work for themselves. You might work for yourself. You're very active in your business and you work hard for your money and you want that money to work hard for you. And the only thing that you know is to put that money into government qualified plans because you are chasing this ROI. You are chasing a good ROR, so return on investment and a good rate of return. All while we're overlooking the banking function. If we're just pursuing that conventional route of the 401ks and the IRAs and the SEPs and the 403Bs, I mean, let's just keep going with these government qualified plans, 529s, etc. Well, that'll be one of these upcoming chapters that will cover alternatives to college and further education. But suffice it to say that I've seen different routes that folks have taken when they've been exposed to the infinite banking concept and they've implemented it. It might just change that they implement infinite banking and they still make all the conventional investments. They still match their employer for the 401k, or they still put that full amount into the IRA, etc. Some folks use their policies to fund conventional investments. So they're using the policy for the investments. And then, like I said, some people are just doing both from their cash flows at the same time. Some folks are financing businesses and they're not using the government qualified plans. And then others are just, again, being great bankers over their lifestyle, and they're just growing and scaling the private banking system until they get to that point where Nash has talked about you can do everything in your lifestyle for yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes years, and folks just can use their private banking system for that, growing and scaling a private family banking system for their lifestyle. So in this chapter, Nash encourages us to think about starting a policy like starting a business. So let's get out of that investment mindset now that we've addressed ROR. Remember, properly structured whole life insurance policies from mutual companies that pay dividends are life insurance policies. They are not an investment. If they're properly structured, they're going to have a significant cash value and they're going to be indicative of that ideal entity for accounting for the banking function in your life, but they are not investments. And I'm strongly encouraging you that anybody that uses language, and they're out there all over the place, people who love whole life, people who hate whole life insurance, both of them have a lot of misconceptions. And here's where I want to encourage you. If you've not seen our Myths, Mysteries, and Misconceptions series on our channel, I'm going to encourage you to check out those common misconceptions, those common myths that are out there about whole life insurance, where folks are calling them investments and other things. And I think that it clears up a lot of that. So make sure to check out that particular Myths, Mysteries, and Misconceptions series on our YouTube channel. But rather, again, going back to Nash saying that starting a policy is like starting a business. We're moving away from this investment conversation to say that it's like starting a business. When you start a new policy, it's like opening up a brand new business. There will be, and here's some characteristics that you'll notice in a business as in a policy. There will be a time delay to profitability. Now you have significant access to capital, even in the beginning with a policy. Even in year one of starting this new business and starting this policy, you have a significant access to capital. There is a loss of liquidity, though, so there is going to be a time delay to profitability, meaning there will be a capitalization phase, and we've already covered that concept. There's going to be a capitalization phase until you get to where you can access more in cash value than you've paid in premiums cumulatively. Okay, so if we're using that as our definition for profitability, having the point where you have more in cash value than you've paid in premiums, there will be a time delay. That doesn't happen overnight. And if you think about it, most people take years to get tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So it's going to take some time to go in the opposite direction as well. Now, there is, though, a one-time buildup to being established. So there is this one-time buildup. There is this one-time capitalization phase to where a policy gets so efficient that it is creating more tax-free capital that you can access and use than has even gone into that system, which is a beautiful place to be. And having been implementing this concept for close to a decade now, I've experienced that point for myself with our oldest of policies. So I do have lots of conversations with folks that ask me about, Jesse, what's the rate of the return? What's going to be my ROI? And they're even using that language. So I'm covering those types of thoughts and question and that level of thinking all the time, every week with folks all across the country. So that's another great reason of why I love to do this book review, because I can put, the best practices that I have and my thoughts and experience into having implemented this concept for all the years that we have for folks to hopefully help speed up those learning curves and provide resources for you to be able to get access to this thinking, to these best practices sooner rather than later. So this ROR mentality is one aspect. Let me give you another topic that often comes up in my conversations with folks. So, and it's so very relevant in the book chapter right here, because Nash begins talking about trusts, for example, and the relationships that are inherent in a trust, meaning the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. So when folks are exposed to the infinite banking concept, often enough, they begin asking questions and learning about trusts. So here's a relevant connection to make. A properly structured whole life insurance policy from a mutual company that pays dividends is like a pre-engineered tax-free trust. Now, there are lots of other aspects that we could talk about that make the whole life policy the ideal asset. But let's think about this. Pre-engineered. Is a policy pre-engineered? Oh, absolutely. These insurance companies have been writing policies using actuarial science for hundreds of years. And tax-free. That's very applicable to the infinite banking concept, because we want to have access to tax-free capital, and we can do that with properly structured whole life policies. And then, of course, the death benefit is a tax-free windfall to the next generation. So, of course, we want to have tax-free access in our lifetime and then create this tax-free windfall to the next generation. So a policy in and of itself is like a pre-engineered tax-free trust. But I love how Nash talks about the description of the relationships relevant to a trust. So let's consider that when a trust is established, there is some mission, some purpose for that trust. Okay. In the beginning, for me and my wife, when we got our first policy, our mission was to get out of commercial debt, consumer debt. We wanted to pay off our car note, our student loans, our credit cards. We have tens of thousands of dollars, close to $50,000 worth of third-party debt that we wanted to pay off, but not just pay it off because we'd learned about infinite banking. We wanted to pay that debt off and recapture that money for ourselves in this private family banking system. So that was the mission of our trust. And here are those relationships. There's a grantor, a trustee, and a beneficiary when it comes to the trust. the connections are the grantor is the owner and payer of a policy. The trustee is the mutual life insurance company itself. Remember, Nash refers to the insurance company personnel as the gophers. They're facilitating these policy loans for us. They're processing our premium payments, providing the death benefits. They've constructed these, they've offered these pre-engineered tax-free trusts. And again, you've got to remember that you're in so many ways only as good as the professional that you're working with. The person that you're getting a policy from should be somebody who has implemented infinite banking into their own personal life, and the policy should be structured in the way that you've learned about in going through this book review series, of course. But the trustee is the mutual life insurance company itself, and then the beneficiary is designated by the grantor, obviously, and always. And you have a beneficiary for your policies as well. You can even have a contingent beneficiary, which is so cool. So the policy is like a pre-engineered tax-free trust. There's the owner and the payer. There's the mutual life insurance company. There's the beneficiary that you choose to be the beneficiary of the policy. And remember this aspect of responsibility on this one role, which is the trustee. The trustee is the person that is entrusted to put the property to work for the benefit of the grantor. So when you're paying premiums into a policy, remember, and we've already discussed this in the book prior to now, the insurance company must put that premium to work. They have guaranteed this death benefit. They have guaranteed this cash value, etc. So that money has to go to work. You as the grantor just happen to be first in line, though, of folks that are eligible to take that money and use it and put it to work. So the owner outranks all the other areas, all the other venture capital opportunities, all the other bonds, all the other real estate deals that an insurance company could be putting that money to work with. The owner of the policy of that mutual life insurance company outranks all the others, which again makes me want to say the aspect of being an honest banker, of not stealing the peas, is relevant here because the insurance company must put that money to work. And if we're going to access that money, we should be putting that back plus interest, plus extra. And that leads us to remembering and pointing out, because again, this is a common thing that folks ask me, Jesse, the interest that I'm supposed to pay back to myself, is that just interest that the insurance company charges me on the policy loan? The 4%, the 8%, the 5%, whatever it is. Isn't that interest just me paying back the insurance company? And here's where being an honest banker means that, well, if we give a true market value to the policy loan that we've taken, yes, we'll end up paying that 4%, that 8%, that 6%, that 5%, whatever it is to the insurance company, plus extra. Because if we give what are these credit card companies charging? What would a bank or a credit union charge you if you wanted to make a personal loan? All these different things. If we give a true market value, we're going to be paying the insurance company back for the policy loan, because remember, they had to put that money to work for whose benefit? And that's so important to remember. So is that money that goes back to the insurance company, the interest that you pay? Yes. But aren't you a part owner of that company? Isn't that company going to pay you a dividend when they experience a positive return? Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. So understanding these relationships in this scenario of, well, who's the grantor? Who's the trustee? Who's the beneficiary? Remember, Nash talks about the actors in the play, right? So you're the grantor, you're the beneficiary, or whoever you designate is the beneficiary, and the trustee is the insurance company that's putting the capital to work, giving us access to this compounding pool of capital in the cash value, the guaranteed death benefit, which is a tax-free windfall to the next generation. Of course, we're going to pay back an interest rate on the policy loans, plus we should be paying back extra by being an honest banker, giving a true market value to the capital that we've accessed from this system that we own. And that interest that we are paying back, this is big, that interest that we're paying back should be extra premium. That should be paid up additional premium that we're paying into the policy. So that's not just us repaying back a loan and repaying back a loan interest, but it's extra premium that goes to the policy. And what happens when we pay extra premium? Doesn't that make the death benefit go up? Doesn't that make us earn bigger dividends in the future? Doesn't that make us have a higher cash value? Yes, yes, and yes. So the interest that Nash is describing here is going to be extra premiums that we pay. I've just had conversations this past week with folks that are doing things in real estate, or folks that are asking me, well, Jesse, what if I get a tax return? Or Jesse, if I get a Christmas bonus this year, can I pay extra into my policy? Yes, absolutely. I own my policies at least once a year, call up the insurance companies that I own policies with, and I ask, how much extra can I pay into my policies this year or this month or whatever the case happens to be? So the interest is extra premium. And remember what that does. That just grows and scales the system. Now, let me say this. I like visuals. If I'm having a conversation with folks often, and I've got papers all around me all the time, I'm so very often writing things down, okay? I like visuals, and I appreciate that there are some visuals here in the book. I would also like to point out a few things when it comes to this. Nash had said, after the publication of the book, Nash had said that if he were rewriting the book, he would not have put illustrations in. Now, I find that very interesting. And you'll notice that I've not dove in this book review altogether. All 20 episodes now so far, and we've still got some more to do. I've really not dove in on the visuals, the illustrations, the numbers. I like visuals, but what I'm saying and emphasizing right here is that they have their place. This always makes me think, this concept always makes me think of something that I've heard James Nethery say, which is when you understand the concepts, the details don't matter. And when you don't understand the concepts, the details don't matter. So the illustrations, the visuals, they can be helpful. Also, things have changed. Now, not the principles, not banking, not mutual life insurance companies, not so many important concepts that we can put into play, but have mortality tables changed and life expectancy and dividends and different things. Sure, some things have changed, but again, when you understand the concepts, the details don't matter. Are you thinking long range? Are you capitalizing? Are you being an honest banker? Are you not doing business with banks? Are you rethinking your thinking? Are you preparing for windfalls? Are you accounting for Parkinson's law, Willie Sutton's law, the arrival syndrome, use it or lose it, etc.? Those concepts have not changed. Today, the concept that we're talking about is, well, but Jesse, I could get a higher rate of return in X, Y, or Z. And what folks are talking about, if they say that, is they're thinking about investing. Whereas this is about who controls the banking function in your life and who profits from it. It could be you. If you want to do investing, great, go do investing. Be the banker. You'll have the best of both worlds. You'll benefit from the financing of that thing and whatever the potential returns might be. And that's a good place for me to say that if you have financed an investment from a private banking system, if the investment goes great, didn't you enjoy and profit from the financing of that? And you have the results from the investment? You do. Great. What if the investment goes bad? What if you lose it all in the investment? Because you didn't lose it all, because every dollar in premium that you paid into the private banking system is still growing and compounding there, and it's going to create new cash value dollars in the future. More death benefit because you funded that system and then use that system to go out and assume the risk of an investment. So you've still got the private family banking system, even if the investment goes sour. Isn't that better than just doing the investment from your cash flows, because then that money would have left you forever. So while the visuals are helpful, they're not necessary. And when you understand what's going on, you'll know what to do. Concepts over details. But I also know that the details make for good conversation. So if you've not yet seen my introductory presentation on infinite banking, that I would encourage you to check out that video. And then on our website as well is my calendar link where you could book a free consultation call where we could have a conversation about implementing infinite banking into your household or your business or your investing. So this has been a great pleasure for me. I look forward to that next conversation, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.